And welcome students to our last chapter for Programming 1. We're going to be talking about arrays. So that being said, let's get into our introduction to arrays by first talking about how to create and access them. So getting started, an array is a data structure used to process a collection of data that is all the same type, such as a list of numbers of type double, or even a list of strings. Now, we haven't really seen arrays being used so far in our programs, but they're a very fundamental concept in many programming languages. Even back when we were doing things such as back in our very first chapter 1, like we started using things like outputting things to the console, system.out.println. However, we didn't actually get into input-output till our second chapter. We haven't really done anything that has warranted us to need an array up to this point. However, like I said, they're very fundamental and very useful. So, why arrays? Well, suppose we wish to write a program that reads in 5 test scores and then perform some manipulation on these scores. Very basic program. For instance, the program might compute the highest test score and then output the amount by which each score falls short of the highest. The highest score is not known until all 5 scores are read in. Hence, all 5 scores must be retained in storage so that after the highest score is computed, each score can be compared to it. So to retain the scores, we're going to need something equivalent to 5 variables of type int. Seems easy enough, right? Well, we could use 5 individual variables of type int, but keeping track of 5 variables is hard. And we may want to change our program later to handle anything up to like 100 scores or more. Certainly keeping track of 100 variables is impractical. You might say like 5, I can do that. When you start talking like 100, geez, that's kind of unwieldy. Well, an array is the perfect solution to handling this. Starting off with an array. Now, an array behaves like a list of variables with a uniform naming mechanism that can be declared in a single line of code. So, for example, the names of 5 individuals we might need be like score 0, score 1, score 2, score 3, score 4. And just notice that there's brackets around each of the numbers. The part that does not change, in this case score, would be the name of our array. The part that can change is the integer in these square brackets. All right, talk now of how to create and accessing these arrays. So in Java, an array is a special kind of object, but it's often more useful to think of it as a collection of variables all the same type. For example, an array that behaves like a collection of 5 variables of type double can be created as follows. Double bracket score equals new double bracket 5. That's it. And that's how you create an array. However, this is going to be very similar to how we declared our 5 variables of type double. Score 0, score 1, score 2, score 3, score 4, score 5. You'll notice that the array is much more compact. Now, since we're talking about arrays, we need to discuss index, elements, and length. The individual variables that make up an array are referred to in a variety of different ways. We call them index variables, so there's something that's called subscript variables, or elements of the array. Now, personally, I'm preferable to calling them elements of the array, simply because of the history I have of using them. I don't necessarily call them index variables. I will refer to the index a lot, but if you see me, I probably will call them elements of the array. Like, what is the 5th element in an array? What is the 3rd element in the array? Now, the number in the square brackets is what's called the index or a subscript. So, if, like for example, look on this previous page here, here I have score 0. This 0 would be then the index. Or up here, double 5, the 5 is the index. In Java, indices are numbered starting with 0, not any other number. They don't start with 1, they don't start with -1, they always are going to start numbering with 0. Now, the number of index variables in an array is called the length or size of an array. This might start to sound a little bit familiar for you if you remember our little friend string.length, and we're going to talk about that in a reason. The length of an array. When an array is created, the length of the array is given in square brackets after the array name. The index variables are then numbered using square brackets, starting with 0, and ending with the integer that's 1 less than the length of the array. So if the length of the array is 6, the length is n minus 1, therefore the length is n minus minus 1, the indexes is n minus 1. So if your length is 6, that means your last index is at 5. Now, we can think of this much as how we discussed string.length. Remember, in string.length, we had very similar discussions. Now, this class, or excuse me, the class actually creates and uses an array. And if you look at how the string class works, hence why we say that a string that is empty has a length of 0, because technically it's an array of length 0. There's nothing in it, so it comes back as 0. Now, let's look at a quick example of an array. Here I have double score equals new double 5. It is also set to an indexed array of 5. You can use any expression that evaluates to a non-negative int in place of the 5 in the square brackets. So if I wanted an array of 10, then I would put 10 inside of the brackets right here. You can also use a value read from the keyboard and use a variable in place of 5. In this way, the size array can be determined with the program runner. So, if I wanted to put a variable here, let's say array size, I could have array size here, and then in my system.println, please enter the size of the array. Array size equals keyboard.next double, and in it goes. Now, a base type. An array can have index variables of any type, so as long as they're all the same type. And this type is what's called the base type array. So, for example, they have to all be all int, they have to be all double, they have to be all char, they have to be all the same type. In our example, the base type of the array score is double, and you'll see that quite often that things are either int or double. To declare an array of base type int, simply use the name int instead of double when the array is declared or created. Pretty self-explanatory. Now, the base type of an array can be any type, including a class type. So this means you're not just limited to primitive types. So, for example, if I wanted to create an array of, let's say, the Android person class that we did in our labs, I could create an array of the Android person class to store a bunch of different Android person objects. All right, let's talk about index variables. Each of the 5 index variables in our example array score can be used just like any other variable of type double. So, for example, all the following are allowed in Java. Score 3 equals 32. Score 0 equals score 3 plus 10. This is now.println score of 0. The 5 index variables in our sample array score are more than just 5 plain old variables of type double. That number in square brackets is part of the index variable's name. So your program can compute the name of one of these variables. All right, let's discuss creating an array. Instead of writing an integer constant in these square brackets, you can use almost any expression that values to an integer that is at least 0 and at most 4. So we're talking about our example score here. So the following is allowed. System.println score of index plus is at position plus index. Where index is a variable type int, as we give one of the values 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4. When we refer to these index variables grouped together in one collective item, we'll call them an array. So we can refer to the array name score without using any square brackets. The program array of scores shows an example of using our simple sample array score as 5 index variables, all type double. Right. So let me just kind of bounce over there real quick. So right here it is, and right here is our array. So here I have scanner keyboard new system.in, double score equals new double 5, int index, and here's double max. And you can see now it's going to ask to enter 5 scores. Score of 0 is equal to keyboard max double. What this does, when you type into your keyboard, it's going to give the first value here at position 0. Max equals score of 0. So whatever is in score 0 is now going to be stored in max. Okay. Go back to for loop in a second here, just real quick, declaring and creating an array. You'll see that it follows these conventions: base type, bracket, array name, equals new base type length. Okay. The length can be an expression that values any non-negative integer. In particular, length can be an int variable. So here's some quick examples. See, we have char, a double, and of course person. Person being a class. Square brackets, very important to talk about these. You'll know that the program can compute the name of index variable by using a variable as the index, such as the following for loop. For x equals 0, index less than 5, index plus plus. System out of print line. Score bracket index plus difference from max by plus max minus score index. Alright, do not confuse the three ways to use square brackets with that of an array name. And we'll talk about it. And you'll notice that, again, here's another for loop that we have in our example here. For index is 1, index is less than 5, index plus plus. Alright, the three ways for square brackets. First, the square brackets can be used to create a type name, such as the double in the following, double score. Second, the square brackets can be used with an integer value as part of the special syntax Java uses to create an array, such as in score equals new double bracket 5. The third use is to name an index variable of the array, such as score 0, score 3, or by illustrated by the following line, max equals score 0. As we previously mentioned, the integer inside the square brackets can be any expression that values to a suitable integer, such as illustrated by the following. So here I have int next equals 1, score next plus 3 equals 100. System out of the print line, position, score position 4 is score bracket next plus 3. Note that in the preceding code, score next plus 3 and score 4 are the same index variable, because next plus 3 will evaluate to 4. Alright, real quick, let's visualize an array. Here's a visual representation of an array called score. We have indices from 0 to 4. We have score 3 being the value of 100. And the length of the array would be 5, because if we think about these in equal units, we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units long. Alright, and let me just finish explaining our program here. So here I have my for loop, and it says score index is keyword next double, so this is going to get the next value starting at index of 1. Remember, 0 we set outside of the loop. Then it's going to say score index is greater than max. Max equals score of index, so it's going to update the score as we move on. So now for then the highest score is max. The scores are for index equals 0, index is less than 5, index plus plus. This is now for score index plus difference from max by plus. Okay, so I already have the program running. Let's go ahead and type 5 scores. Let's do something like 60. Let's do 55. And see, when I enter those in, it says the highest score is 60. The scores are 66 differs from max by 0. 55 differs from max by 5.0. 0.0 differs from max by 60. 60, 60. Try running this again. So I'll enter 5 scores. Let's do 10. Let's do 20. And you can see that the program has stopped again. Right, the highest score is 20. Right. So here again, I must have something wrong with my code here. Let me just check something real quick, because I just noticed it's only taking in 2 values, and I found my error. It's right here. So move those out, and this curly bracket actually needs to move right here. So now let's try this. Enter 5 scores. And 200. Okay, there we go. That looks better. The highest score is 100. The scores are 50 differs from max by 50, because you'll notice that each of these are set to these values. 60 differs by 40, 44 differs by 6, 76 differs by 24, and 100 differs by 0. Okay, so there's our quick example for an array. That's going to kind of wrap it up for today, folks. So I guess until next time.